Okay, we're going to go ahead and try to break things tonight and see how this works. Hopefully it actually works well. I'll be sad if it doesn't, but I have a strange feeling it will. So let me check one thing here really quick to make sure I'm actually streaming. Pulls out cell phone. Tell I'm a rookie, people. Pulls up YouTube on cell phone. And pulls up BYOB Pen Club on cell phone. Oh, hey, there we go. Might want to turn the volume down. Yay, cool. Wow, that's weird. Okay, so here we go. Working on a little bit more of episode 30.5 of BYOB Pen Club, the interview that we did with Paul Arano from the Black Pen Society. I just got done working with the rest of the gang on the wonderful episode 30? Episode 30, yeah. So that was fun. Always a good day when I get to record with the gang and do crazy and sometimes stupid stuff. But hey, that's what friends are for. Pop this in audience chat really quick. That way I can completely ruin some people's evenings. Okay. So last night we left off with a little bit of pre-production work, just getting Paul's audio ready for recording. Well, not ready for recording, but ready for editing. So I get to actually start off with stuff like this.
Bring the pin. I can mail them. I'm also making a new pin. So every year, this is something else you should know if you're interested in the Black Pen Society. We have an annual meeting. Now, we got called out on our annual meeting a couple of years ago.
So not bad. It's a good starting point. There's still a little bit more heavy lifting I want to do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and up my headphone volume here so I can hear a little bit more of the nuance. And we're going to pull out probably one of the craziest plugins that I use when I'm doing this editing work. So let's go ahead and go down to this guy. Yeah, awesome plugin. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to listen for some horrible S sounds. So what I'm doing here is I'm listening for really hard sounds and sounds and just anything else that just sounds really harsh.
And when you get out and you actually meet people and you spend time with them and you have a drink or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. You get to know people, you get to like people.
There we go.
That's when the big pens come out.
Okay, so that helped tame some of the sibilance there, which definitely needs to happen. Next thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of expansion here. That way, on some of the quieter stuff, it just gets cut out. I'm not trying to go too harsh with it. So, like, negative 65 dB will be fine. Playing it back. You can see we're looking good right here.
Came from.
So, I mean, you can see where it's not too bad. And give me 1 second here, just modifying the audio on one thing.
All right.
We know where the Black Pen Society came from, but what was the Paul before the Black Pen Society?
There we go. That way I can actually hear myself over myself.
What got you in the fountain pens?
Oh, God. Well, all right. Well.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and I want
to... So you can tell, we're not really going below this threshold here.
Came from.
Which I could probably push it higher, but in case one of us talks softly, I don't want to, because then it just cuts stuff out. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. At this point, I'm just editing to taste, really. So we're going to go ahead and bring in the compressor, and we're going to give it a little bit of a soft knee. So as the compressor hits, it's going to start hitting early and really doing the full compression later on. So let's go ahead and bring it into the audio.
We know where the Black Pen Society came from, but what was the Paul before the Black Pen Society?
What was the Paul before the Black Pen?
What got you in the fountain?
Okay, I have a strange feeling I'm going to hate hearing that question over and over again, so we're going to go over to here to keep working on this. Next thing we're going to do is bring in kind of an RMS limiter, and I'm going to give us about 15 decibels plus or minus to work with. That way, it kind of helps keep things in line.
Big thing about what happens when, what do you do when you're asking to see a fountain pen? Well, I'll give you an example.
And you can see here where I'm trying
somebody was
to...
pretty cranky.
You can see where I'm trying to limit myself to no more than 6 dB of compression or gain limiting of any type. Anything more than that, and it's, I guess, overkill would be the right word for it. Yeah, overkill would definitely be the right word for it. Bear with me for one moment here. Okay. Wow. Note to self, don't look at Discord while editing audio. Although, yes, Discord while editing audio. I guess that's a good thing. So we've got the compressor, we've got the leveler. The last thing I'm going to bring in, just to kind of help things along, is this limiter. And I'm just going to barely touch the mix with the limiter. If I do too much more than that, then you can really tell on the final products, because they kind of sound like episodes 1 through 10. I got a little bit happy with the limiting, although I was also trying to compensate for people not using proper mic etiquette. I may or may not have yelled at a few people for that.
Big thing about what happens when, what do you do when you're asking to see a fountain pen? Well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
They said that
and as you can see there, that I had that one spot that just really jumped down rather crazy. So we're going to go ahead, and now that we've got that, I'm going to post something really quick to Slack. Copy that. Go over to the Slack. See, I'll actually start getting a little bit more, what's the word for it? Professional? Quasi-professional? Yeah, something like that. You'll also notice that I probably don't say as many colorful things in here that I do on the show. Honestly, I don't know why that is, but it just happens that way. So, now that we've set this giant plugin of doom, let's go ahead and render that out, and let's see what it does to the waveform here. Okay, so while that's doing that, you can kind of see where there's a few spots that jump down to 12 dB of limiting and gain reduction. That occasionally happens. There are worse things in life, so I'm okay with that happening. I just try to avoid having it happen too often, or the results make me cringe. So now we go ahead and listen to the final result here.
going to break the pen, and the person took it as an affront, and I guess this got on the internet, and there are a lot of bad press and everything. So, but the thing is somebody comes to my table, and this did happen. In fact, it happened several times.
Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit of a better idea of what this audio is going to sound like. And this is where it gets completely subjective. Now, the one thing that I get asked quite a bit is, okay, you know, you're just moving a few knobs, you're moving a few sliders. Why does this take X amount of time per minute? So not everyone's the same. In this case, I've got like 3 or 4 voices that appear in almost 45 minutes of audio, and I have to do all the sound work with this. That's quite an interesting undertaking, so I have to make sure that when I'm doing the editing that I'm doing so in a way that's neutral enough to grab as much of the craziness as possible. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a listen here. I'm going to put it on loop mode. Actually, it already is on loop mode. And I'm just going to go right here and just hit play, and I'm going to work on this little bugger here and bring it a little bit more in control.
But I want to be a crow.
Why?
All right. I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow. See. So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives and I do the same thing I did with pens.
So what I'm doing here is this is what's called an active equalizer. So what this does is it allows me to pick certain frequencies, and if that frequency hits this threshold here, then the equalizer activates to a certain extent. So in this case, I'm going to use these active equalizers here to pick certain frequencies that don't sound right and make sure that when those frequencies are hit by the people talking, that the audio is ducked at those spots. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to quit talking for a few seconds and just try to get a sound that feels right.
But I want to be a crow.
Why?
All right. I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow. See. So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives and I do the same thing I did with pens. Well, the other thing is, I love beautiful old things, and it really, when I saw something that was old and neglected, it kind of hurt a little bit, and I just thought, gee, wouldn't it be beautiful if you brought that back to life and made it useful again for somebody? And I did that with houses. We rebuilt 4 houses, and so I never saw a dilapidated house. I never saw a beat up pen. I saw something beautiful. It's kind of like when you see people, you don't look at things superficially. So I started with restoring the knives, and of course, there were no such thing as books on pens or anything. So my first pen, I got a brown vac. I remember this. I got this, and God, they're beautiful. And I still entice these new collectors with vacuumatics because they're beautiful. And it's kind of like it's a gateway drug to vintage pens, right? And if you do come to a pen show, I'm going to try to get you into vintage pens. So anyway, so I'm dipping. I said, I can't figure out how to fill this thing. Now, here's another thing. Being a writer, being involved with literature, I was an English teacher. So, pens were important. And I've written with fountain pens all my life. So these weren't anything new to me. These were things that I've used. There was nothing that kind of like fell off the face of the earth. And I shouldn't use the word hate. I wrote an essay about that once, but it's in one of the journals that I did. And so I didn't like the ballpoints when they came out in the 50s and 60s because they smeared. So I stayed with the fountain pens, felt tip pens, and so on. So fountain pens were always my friend, right? And I always liked them. So then when...
Okay, so now we've done quite a bit of heavy lifting here. And I'm going to go ahead and play it back, and I'm going to switch between bypassed and active, so you can kind of hear the tonal difference once the equalizer is actually engaged. So we're going to start with it on, and I'm going to flip between the two.
But I want to be a crow.
Why?
All right? I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow, see? So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives, and I do the same thing I did with pens. Well, the other thing is, I love beautiful old things. And it really, when I saw something that was old and neglected, it kind of hurt a little bit. And
So just from the active equalizer, you can tell that I've taken quite a bit of the muffled low end out, and I've taken out quite a bit of the boominess and that nasally sound that you get when you kind of sound like you're from Wisconsin or something like that. Yeah, that was a horrible Wisconsin voice. Please don't hurt me. Now, the one thing we're going to look at now, there's still a few frequencies that are bugging me to an extent. So let's go ahead and go through those, and let's see if we can tweak a few of those in a way that actually makes us like the audio even more.
But I want to be a crow.
Why?
All right? I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow, see? So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives, and I do the same thing I did with pens. Well, the other thing is, I love beautiful old things. And it really, when I saw something that was old and neglected, it kind of hurt a little bit. And I just thought, gee, wouldn't it be beautiful if you brought that back to life and made it useful again for somebody? And I did that with houses. We rebuilt 4 houses. And so I never saw a dilapidated house. I never saw a beat up pen. I saw something beautiful. It's kind of like when you see people, you know, you don't look at things superficially. So I started with restoring the knives. And of course, there were no such thing as books on pens or anything. So my first pen, I got a brown vac. I remember this. I got this, and God, they're beautiful. And I still entice these new collectors with vacuumatics because they're beautiful. And and it's kind of like it's a gateway drug to vintage pens, right? And if you do come to a pen show, I'm going to try to get you into vintage.
Okay, so by now you're noticing I'm doing a lot of subtractive EQ. One of the worst things you can do whenever you're EQing the voice is do a lot of additive EQ or trying to boost everything you can possibly think of. You can get away with that with an instrument like if this was a snare drum and not a human voice, then sure, I'd be all over boosting like 10,000 hertz or, you know, boosting everything around the 200 range because I'm trying to get as much thump as humanly possible. It's one of those situations, though, where when dealing with the human voice, there's so many things that can just compound against itself that doing so would be stupid. Yeah, we'll go with stupid. But we've got a pretty good EQ here. So let's go ahead now and let's look at the de-esser. Let's see if we need any more. Right now it sounds pretty good. I don't think we need any more, but we'll see.
But I want to be a crow, all right? I don't want to be a magpie.
And then we're doing the same thing we did earlier. We're putting it in the listen focus, and we're narrowing in. We're just listening for things that are overly harsh.
The other thing is, I love beautiful old things. And it really, when I saw something that was old and neglected, it kind of hurt a little bit. And I just thought, gee, wouldn't it be beautiful if you brought that back to life and made it useful again for somebody? And I did that with houses. We rebuilt 4 houses. And so I never saw a dilapidated house. I never saw a beat up pen. I saw something beautiful. It's kind of like when you see people.
Just enough to tame it, not enough to go overkill. So people listening to that are not going to think that I've suddenly put a bunch of cotton in their ears, which is kind of the point. If we're sticking cotton in people's ears, then we're taking away from the actual... allow me to be artistic here for a second. But putting cotton in people's ears takes away from the artistic beauty of what you're doing. So now we've actually got I'd call it a decent starting point as far as tone. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in, I would say it's the last little bit of heavy tonal work that I need to do before we can just call it good and actually start listening to the episode and making the appropriate cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and listen through this section again. And we're going to bring in more of an ongoing noise filter.
But I want to be a crow, all right? I don't want to be a magpie.
So if I overdo it, it's going to start sounding watery. So if I crank it like there.
So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives, and I do the same thing I did with pens.
You can hear it's really watery.
Well, the other thing is...
So we're going to tone it down.
I love beautiful old things. And it really... When I saw something that was old...
We only need minor sound control. So bumping that down to 6 dB of reduction for anything that doesn't clear, and leaving the threshold at 0, and then keeping this adaptive, that's going to allow quality to come through without being overbearing. So let's go ahead and listen to it really quick with me shutting up.
But I want to be a crow, all right? I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
And without...
So I'm a crow, see? So anyway...
You can hear that hiss, can't you?
I'd pick up these pocket knives, and I do the same thing I did with pens. Well, the other thing is...
And that just tightened it right up.
I love beautiful old things. And it really... When I saw something that was old...
So we're going to do something here. I could just hit it with the limiter and call it good. I really don't want to, though. I want to try to give it just a little bit more control before I hit that limiter. If you do all of your gain reduction with one plugin and you don't stair step it, you run the risk of really squashing your audio and creating a situation where it just sounds flat, lifeless, and like something no one's really going to want to listen to. So if you saw the last video, you saw where I pulled out that plugin RVox made by Waves. And like I said, just simple compressor, nothing crazy. We're going to go ahead and bring this into the mix.
But I want to be a crow. All right? I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow, see? So anyway, I'd pick up these
Now we're going to look at both of them together to make sure we're not overdoing it. So here we go. We're going to leave the gain at 0 because it's going to bump it up. What we're going to focus more on here is the compression and the threshold. We're not going to touch the gate. We're not going to touch the gain. And we always leave this at -6, so when we bring things together, we have more room. Like when everyone says goodbye at the end of a BYOB episode, I have 8 tracks saying goodbye very loudly at the same time. At -6 dB, it doesn't matter. They're going to start clipping anyways, which is why occasionally you hear some static on the goodbye. It's just what happens. Now, that's not a bad thing, but for perfectionists with audio, they sit there, stare at me, and then shake their fists of why did I just suddenly let clipping come through the audio? No one wants clipping in the audio, not even the engineer, but it does come out. So let's go ahead and bear with me for one moment here. Okay. Trying to think, am I actually signed in over here? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. And I'm going to try to get no more than 3 dB of gain reduction here. And then the same thing here. So here we go.
But I want to be a crow. All right? I don't want to be a magpie. I want to be a crow.
Okay,
So,
you're a crow.
so I'm a crow, see? So anyway, I'd pick up these pocket knives, and I do the same thing I did with pens. Well, the other thing is, I love beautiful old things. And it really, when I saw something that was old and neglected, it kind of hurt a little bit. And I just thought, gee, wouldn't it be beautiful if you brought that back to life and made it useful again for somebody? And I did that with houses. We rebuilt 4 houses. And so I never saw.
Okay, so now we've got good audio to work with. So before I add everything else in, like the theme song and the ad read, which I still actually have to record that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and bring in, well, not bring in really. We're going to go through the episode and edit out the fluff, the crap, if you will, that just doesn't work out too well. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning and hit play. And we're going to see where I actually want to start this episode instead of just letting it free start.
And all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of black pens on the table.
Yeah. Are we on or?
Oh yeah, we're recording.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I went ahead and hit the button. We're good.
Okay.
So Paul, definitely thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to kick us out of a restaurant.
Right.
Not going to happen this time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Chicago is a fantastic show. I mean, you know, the thing is, the whole tenor of the show has changed. We have a whole new generation of people showing up. I think it's, you know, it's so much more alive. There's so much more variety. There's so many more things going on. And it's nice to finally see that the next generation has a...
Okay, so we jumped into it pretty quick there. So what I need to look for is where I pretty much just go straight into a spiel of what happened the last time we recorded with Paul.
Yeah, hit the button. We're good.
Okay.
So Paul, definitely thank you for coming back on.
Okay, there we go. So all this, gone. No point in keeping it because it's not really adding anything to the conversation. Now, I know our intro song's about 30 seconds long, so I'm just going to bump that over there for now. And going to zoom in here really quick because there's a few things I already want to get out of there. And it's vanity more than anything. Let's just be honest here. So,
Paul, definitely thank you for coming back.
Yeah, that was horrible. So we're just going to go with Paul. Thank you for coming back out.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to kick us out of a restaurant.
Right.
Not going to happen this time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Chicago is a fantastic show.
Okay. Now, pretty much what we do for this cut, since it's just one mic, it's not really as in-depth as a main episode. There's a couple spots right here where you can see, yeah, there's a little excessive gap. We're going to try cutting that as much as we can without killing too much, per se. It's really going to be artistic freedom on this one.
This time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Chicago is a fantastic show. I mean, you know, the thing is, the whole tenor of the show has changed. We have a whole new generation of people showing up. I think it's, you know, it's so much more alive. There's so much more variety. There's so many more things going on. And it's nice to finally see that the next generation has arrived in force. It's really a nice thing. Wonderful thing.
Well, this was my first pen show, and it was definitely...
Well, we could probably do without the wonderful thing part. In normal conversation, it fits, but I don't know. Seems like it could just be done without.
The next generation has arrived in force. It's really a nice thing.
Well, this was my first pen show, and it was definitely one to remember.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so not only was it my first pen show, my first time meeting you,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
but you also, one, inducted me into the Black Pen Society.
Correct.
Thank you.
Right.
The other, you helped facilitate my Grail pen.
That is correct.
I could not have gotten that. Now, how do you say it? Do you say Nakia, Nakia? Which pronunciation do you do?
It's like my last name. I say Irano or Irano. So
You use
either
whichever
works.
one
Yep.
fits the situation?
Tomato. Yep.
Well, thanks to you, I have my Grail Nakaya.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, wow. Let me go ahead and grab it.
Is it black?
No. Well,
It's a joke, guys.
with the lights
it's a joke.
on?
It doesn't have to be black. We'll get to that.
with the lights off, it might be.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Okay, the joke is barely passable. The one thing I'm going to do, though, there was a little bit of a pause there that I'm going to get out of the audio. And then this right here where I'm looking for the pen. I think we can do without that, and then we're going to see how that sounds.
With the lights off, it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
He's
that's...
unwrapping the pen right now, very delicately. Taking it out of the back pouch. Oh, they are beautiful. They really are.
They really are.
Yep. Wow, that's nice.
And from what I was hearing, a lot of people on the floor were actually coveting that pen.
This pen.
Yeah,
Right,
that
not
pen.
one like it, this particular pen.
That particular one, because everyone was like, wait, was that the Decapod on the table right next to
Right.
Ralph?
You guys can't see this. It's really beautiful.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Right. Okay. It's really nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, and you helped facilitate that. I appreciate that a lot.
And that, you know, that was an interesting thing. That's the thing about pen shows. One of the things that I don't know, it's hard to explain. You know, it's a very close community. There, you know, and the nice thing is we have younger people, we have older people, and everybody, you know, the one thing that we're really trying to promote is to create positive interactions between people.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got this thing called the Bridge. I don't know if this is specifically about the Black Pen Society, but we also have something called the Bridge Committee. And what we're trying to do is just create positive experiences for people. And how do you do that? Well, you do it any way you want to. You know, you just have to be mindful of the fact that it's better to have a positive experience than a negative experience. And so that when people are at the show, they get to know one another, that they get to enjoy each other's company, and that when they leave the show, they say, you know something, I'm really glad I went. I met so-and-so, I learned so much, I really had a good time. By the way, I picked up a couple of pens that I really, really like. I can't believe that so-and-so, you know, helped me out in this or that, you know, and it really works. And there's no substitute in my mind. Of course, I've been doing this from day one.
Right.
For getting to a place and actually meeting people. And, you know, I'm sure if...
Yeah, now I'm just nitpicking here, but I can go ahead and shorten that up just a little and shorten this up just a little, and it's not really going to hurt the tempo here. But one thing that I am noticing from this edit so far, thank you, Paul. You made this a lot easier on me. I appreciate that. So let's go ahead and keep going through here and see what else the episode brings us.
And there's no substitute, in my mind. Of course, I've been doing this from day one.
Right.
For getting to a place and actually meeting people. And I'm sure if you're on the internet and you're looking at things, or even if you're listening to podcasts, which it's a good thing, but when you get to the show to actually see the people and to talk to them and to hang out with them, you get so much more out of it. I would just encourage everyone to try to get to at least one pen show a year, because there's going to be a pen show within driving distance. And it would be even better if you could stay overnight and hang out for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I better give you your pen back. Okay.
I mean, these honestly were some of the
I was
best.
holding on to that pen and I didn't want to let go.
You were. It's going back in the kimono now. But no, these have been the best 3 days I've had all year.
And I do this 12, 13, 14 times a year, and I love it.
I envy
for that
you
reason.
so much.
Well, I'm retired. Helps.
That does.
Definitely.
So I know last time.
Okay. I mean, the joke was funny. It landed. But it really doesn't add much to the conversation. So we're going to go ahead and scrunch that out and bring it back and make sure I didn't overdo the edit.
For that
envy you
reason.
so much.
Well, I'm retired.
So I know last time we
Good
spoke with you,
transition.
we were talking about, kind of the origins of the Black Pen Society and how it got started.
Right.
I mean, I know we were also kind of rushing through it.
We were rushing. Right.
I mean, for you, what was the driving force?
Okay, this definitely needs tightened up. I know I can ask questions a lot better than that. So, yes, this is why episodes come out sounding like I actually know what I'm doing, because I do this stuff. And let's go ahead and play that back.
What got started?
Right.
I mean, I know we were also kind of rushing through it.
We were rushing. Right.
I mean, for you, what was the driving force behind the Black Pen Society? I know the first time around you said it was kind of a last minute joke on the flight to a pen show.
Well, there was a lot building up to that. I mean, I started collecting fountain pens when I didn't know there were other fountain pen collectors. And so I had to learn how to fix my own pens. And I had to learn everything from scratch. There was no information. And then all of a sudden, I found that there were other collectors. And then all of a sudden, I found that there were other pen shows. And I just happened to like black pens. I always liked black pens. So I went to a pen show, or I went to a pen club meeting or whatever. And, I'd find these beautiful, absolutely beautiful pens. And I'd show them to a friend and they'd say, "Oh, God, that's a beautiful bit."
I have a certain threshold for the number of and-us that I actually let slip through. Every host gets 5, and then I try to cut them out. We actually say that as people a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. It's like a standby for almost everyone I've ever worked with. Wait for the audio engine to catch up here.
These beautiful, absolutely beautiful pens. I'd show them to a friend and they'd say, "Oh, God, that's a beautiful pen. Too bad it's black." And what do you mean? Well, I knew what he meant. The thing is, see, when we started, first of all, there was no such thing as modern pens. They were all vintage pens. And the pens that people wanted the most were the brilliant colored celluloid pens, the eyedroppers with the high repoussé and all these other things, these really fancy pens. And if you found a really nice vintage pen that had beautiful color, well, then you just hit the jackpot, because that's 1 in 100. Most of these celluloid pens are discolored. They were even discolored back then. So that's what they meant. They meant, "Oh, too bad it wasn't a beautiful, vibrant jade green Schaefer flat top." And so, and I said, "Well, they're nice too. I like them too. But geez, I really like black pens." So then I ran into another guy, and this is 30 years ago. And we started our own black pen society. It was Bob Novak and me. And so it was just the two of us. And it was kind of a joke. You know, we'd bring out our pens and we'd show each other.
A little too long of a gap for my taste there. So we're going to go ahead and tweak that just a little and then bring it back in.
Novak and me. And so it was just the two of us. And it was kind of a joke. You know, we'd bring out our pens and we'd show each other. And, you know, we'd just chat about it and have fun. And then another person joined us, Tom Heath. And so then, you know.
Okay, let's take a listen to this part.
Tom Heath.
Okay, we can get rid of the second and we can get rid of that as well. We'll leave a little bit of a pause because it needs to be there for natural sake. But we'll get rid of the rest because it really doesn't need to be there.
And another person joined us, Tom Heath. So then, you know, this went on for 20 years. I mean, it went on for a long time. And so I was flying to a pen show, and I looked at the magazine, and there was this thing called Lapel Pin Ink, and it said you can make lapel pins. And me being me, I said, well, you know, I just want to start something. So I said, and I knew a lot of people. You know, I'd written a couple of books and all this other stuff. So I said, geez, I think I'm going to start the Black Pen Society. Well, you know, I have a real problem. Well, I think all pen collectors...
Okay, we're going to set this up so the joke hits a lot harder. Or the implied joke, that is. And we're even going to leave a little bit of the stutter in there because it helps set it up, and honestly, that's part of Paul. When you see him when there's not a microphone in front of him, he's a lot quicker on some of his quips, and I want that to actually show through in the episode.
So I said, geez, I think I'm going to start the Black Pen Society. Well, you know, I have a real problem. Well, I think all pen collectors... All right, I'm gonna let it out. All right, I think all pen collectors have a real problem. All right, but I'm certainly one of them. Where the hell was I going with this? I forgot. Okay.
We all wanted a pen collection.
Oh well, but my problem is this. All right, when I say things, sometimes I could do it absolutely deadpan, and I'm joking, and I know I'm joking, but when I do it deadpan like that, other people don't.
Okay, this part right here, it hit that threshold again. I see that much dead space, and I'm like, no, let's just make it moderate dead space.
Deadpan. And I'm joking. And I know I'm joking. But when I do it deadpan like that, other people don't know I'm joking. All right? So I finally, after so many years, I finally realized that. And I still have this problem. I start in the middle of a sentence or middle of a thought. My wife says, what the hell are you talking about? You know, because it's going on in my head, and I realize it, but... Where am I going with this? Okay.
Debating on whether or not I should cut that out, but no, we'll keep that.
Going on in my head, and I realize it, but where am I going with this? Okay. So I said, I'm going to start this Black Pen Society, and it's going to be tongue-in-cheek, right? So I said, all right, I'll make up these pins. And I like doing things like that. I love designing pins and everything. So I'm going to design my own pen. So anyway, so I designed this pin. And I knew that there were a lot of people who liked...
Wait. He just went from calling it a pen to calling it a pin. Did I actually hear that right?
Designing pins and everything. So I'm going to design my own pen. So anyway, so I designed this pin. And I knew that there were a lot of people who liked black pens. So we were at the... DC pen show, and it's a big pen show. So I grabbed a hold of all these people. I said, come on, we're going to go out and smoke cigars and drink and all this stuff, which we still do. But we did it, we called the area the Pit. And I said, listen, I know you guys like black pens, so now you're in the Black Pen Society. And I handed out these little pins. And I said, listen, you guys got to understand this is like a big Ponzi scheme. All right. Today, you're the first 100. I said, each one of you has to get a new member. So next year there will be 200. And then the year after that, there's going to be 400. Then there's going to be 800. Then eventually we're going to control the world, the Black Pen Society. So, and I said, and we'd been drinking and smoking cigars. So I'm shaking my finger at him, scolding him. And I said, and I said, I'm not going to be the only one to get new members. You have to come up and you have to say this. So when you see somebody and you know they like pens, you say, so, what do you think about black pens? And the people who like black, you can't shut them up.
To be fair, while I'm tightening this up, he is right. I actually love my black pens, and when I start talking about them, yeah. I'm going to hit play now to force myself not to talk about them.
See somebody and you know they like pens, you say, so, what do you think about black pens? And the people who like black, you can't shut them up. All right, and you say, okay, you're in. You want to be part of the black. And if the other people, if they give an incorrect response, you just walk away and they don't even know that they've been interviewed, because in the very beginning, this was a secret society, right? In the first pen, you can't even read it. You don't know where first letter is and where it ends and where it starts. So it was a secret society the first 2 years. Tongue-in-cheek secret society. All right, then in fact, I have this pin on me. This must be the third year pin.
Oh, wow.
Because it was supposed to be so that you couldn't read it. The name Black Pen Society was supposed to be behind the feather, and it was supposed to be like a halftone. Yeah, but the guys, they couldn't do it at the lapel pin ink shop. So I said, all right, so we're not a secret society anymore. And then these people wanted a secret handshake. And frankly, you know, there is no secret handshake. And I said, well, all right, you guys, if you could come up with a real good one, then we'll have a secret handshake. But, you know, they haven't been able to do it so far. Then I'm giving the history. You want me to keep on going with this?
I mean, honestly, this is good. This is
all
more
right.
than we. This is more than we got.
All right.
So I
Well, this
want
is. I mean, this is real. I mean, so,
One day Dan Brown is going to make a movie about this.
really.
Yeah. So we.
So
we need to get
far,
it on tape.
you know, so far as I'm not delusional, I'm not thinking this, and it's actually not true. I think it's true. So, what happened?
Well, I was
So-
inducted into something this weekend, so it must be true.
All right. Oh, and then they tried to overthrow me because I'm a little bit autocratic about things, right? So
You?
they tried to have a bloodless coup. So then that failed. I won. Right. And then they said Paul Ireno shall forever be the Grand Poobah of the Black Pen Society. And
They have to swear fealty to?
well, it's not to me, it's to the society. I'm just the Grand Poobah.
Okay, I need to see how much of that I need to keep and cut.
Swear fealty to?
Well, it's not to me, it's to the society.
Okay, so I kind of need to keep that. Well, I want to check something here really quick. I do that.
Swear fealty to?
Well,
No, we'll keep it as is.
Swear fealty to?
well, it's not to me, it's to the society. I'm just the Grand Poobah. And here I am, I'm talking. Usually when the Poobah is in his Poobah role, he speaks in the third person. So,
I missed the hat.
well,
too.
well, he only wears the hat at DC. He doesn't like wearing the hat. It looks better on Jessica, and I wish he'd wear it more than me, but I have to wear it. I mean, it's some hat, actually. I have to see it.
So I believe everyone at the table is a member of Black Pen Society but me. Nope. Oh, you're not? Nope. How are you not a member of the Black Pen Society?
Wow.
Never invited.
No, it's not an invite.
Okay, this part actually plays a good chunk of the episode here, so I do need to boost that. And then we need to see what work we need to do to it really quick.
So I believe everyone at the table is a member of Black Pen Society but me. Nope. Oh, you're not? Nope. How are you not a member of the Black Pen Society?
Wow.
Never invited.
Okay, so for that, I need to do a little bit more work to it to make it passable.
So I believe everyone at the table is a member of Black Pen Society but me. Nope. Oh, you're not? Nope.
Okay, let's run that really quick and see what happens. Okay, and then bring it back in.
So I believe everyone at the table is a member of Black Pen Society but me. Nope. Oh, you're not? Nope. How are you not a member of the Black Pen Society?
Wow.
Okay, and because the microphone is behind them, that's tolerable. I'm going to allow that, even though on a normal episode I would sit there and... Oh, I'm still partially kicking myself for not having a microphone pointed towards Anna, Ralph, and... Oh my goodness, I forgot Anna's friend's name. And Jesse. But anyways, back to it.
It's some hat, actually. I have to see it.
So I believe everyone at the table is a member of Black Pen Society but me. Nope. Oh, you're not? Nope. How are you not a member of the Black Pen Society?
Wow.
Never invited.
No, it's not an invite. There's no invite. I mean, it's a lack of one of our members' awareness to get up to you and say, hey, She needs to be. So you want me to do it?
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
let's do this.
Two for one.
Two for one. Okay.
All right. And by the way, our vice grand poobah always screws this up. He just can't say it right, and I don't know why. All right.
That's not Jim, is it?
No, it's Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, Joe Nemechek. Oh, put his name right out there. Okay. So here's
There you go.
here's how you say it.
Got called
Name
out.
drop.
Right. All right. You ready?
Yep.
So, what do you think about black pens?
I love them. I dig me some black pens.
Loves them. What was that second response?
Dig me some black.
Dig me some black pens.
Dig me some black pens. Yeah.
Okay, so they're in. It's that simple. Give me $5. That's what I usually say next. Right? Well, you can't. I ran out of pins. We'll do it in Raleigh.
I'm not
No.
going to be in Raleigh.
Well, how about what's the other one? DC.
DC. I'm there.
All right.
Okay, I'm getting that look that I get whenever my dogs are telling me that they want to go outside. So we're going to go ahead and you can already see how this is shaping up. Now, like I said, imagine this, but with 8 tracks. And you can see there's still 45 minutes left to go. Well, no, we're at minute 12 of 45. So about 32 minutes left to go. So that being said, though, I need to walk my dogs. And this obviously isn't going to get done tonight, but it will definitely get done before Friday. Yeah, it will get done before Friday. But you do get to see one thing really quick. I, in my infinite wisdom, forgot to post Anna's Jelly Bean mode to over to our Patreon. So here we go. You get to see how the stuff is made here for a second. Okay, go ahead, go there. And yes, this is really how I get over to our Patreon so I can do stuff that I need to do because I'm too lazy to type something in. And wow, thank you, patrons. I cannot thank you enough for that. That means a lot that you guys do that for us. Also, some of these videos, like the links to some of these videos, may actually be patron only at some point. So before I start doing that kind of stuff, you might want to get on top of that. So really quick here, though, we're going to go to our podcast thing. I'm not going to show you this. I'm not showing you that. No, you don't get to see it. That's for other people. But here's Anna's episode. And the part that I need is this part right here. Well, and the audio. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to do a post, and grab the audio. Yeah, that folder. Look at all these episodes. Every episode we've ever done, I keep. Including some of the non-episode stuff, but yeah. So we grab the well-appointed tapes, open them up, grab the generic artwork that I use for all of our episodes on Patreon, and then to make things nice and easy, grab the title, then copy and paste, and then grab this, and then once again also copy and paste, and then trim it up here because it always does that. I really don't want to do that because it's going to go public immediately. And good, nothing looks wonky there. Feel like I'm missing something. Oh, yeah. There you go. And publish that now. So thank you for watching me do a little bit of work on the Polarano episode. I guess I can show you one more thing that happens with every BYOB episode, and I need to do it anyways. We'll go ahead and reopen Pro Tools here for a second. And then once Pro Tools opens up, Go back to the Polarano tapes. And we'll go ahead and add a few things. So here's where it also helps that I've done quite a bit of lifting on the back end. So we need the main asset, we need that, and we need that. And then we go ahead and import that. And there we go. Okay, so I was a little bit wrong about the overall length of the theme song. It's actually only like 25 seconds. So we go ahead and pop it in there and then play really quick.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
Okay, and then to make that sound better, go ahead and pop that over there.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to.
Okay, and I'm already noticing one more thing. So there's going to be one more thing before I go tonight. We're going to add a whole nother row of inserts, and we're going to move these over here. Because I already hear a couple frequencies that are driving me nuts. So we're going to bring this in.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore. Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
Much better. And for the final frequencies that I'm hating.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to kick us out of a restaurant.
Right.
Not going to happen this time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Chicago is a fantastic show.
All right, and I'm going to hit play one more time just to make sure I'm happy with it.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to kick us out of a restaurant.
Right.
Not going to happen this time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Chicago is a fantastic show. I mean, you know, the thing is, the whole tenor of the show has changed. We have a whole.
And then the last thing I'm going to do before we call it night, I'm going to make sure that the mastering plugin's where it needs to be.
Paul, thank you for coming back on.
Right.
First time we talked to you was at Baltimore, and
Right.
they were trying to kick us out of a restaurant.
Right.
Not going to happen this time.
Right. That's right.
So how was Chicago?
Cool. So we've got that set up, and just so everything is at a true 0 start time. That way when I come back and edit, I don't have to worry about that. There we go. So realistically, looking at what we have here and seeing how minor all the cuts I've been making are, this is going to be about a 40 to 42 minute episode. I have a strange feeling the majority of the content's actually going to stay in, and the final edit will definitely show whether or not I'm hallucinating. But I can at least say I'm starting to get more and more familiar with what to expect when it comes to these episodes. But thank you for spending time with me, watching me edit episode 30.5 of the BYOB Pen Club. Till next time, say goodbye, everybody.